A girl in my class said she can't sit. It hurts too much. What I discovered made me call 911. Her father came screaming, "Hi everyone! Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. The bell rang at 8:47 a.m., the way it always did, sharp and insistent, cutting through the hallway noise like a knife through butter. I stood at my classroom door, coffee in hand, watching the tide of children surge toward their lockers. Backpacks bumped against small shoulders. Someone's lunchbox clattered to the floor. A boy with untied shoelaces nearly tripped over them, laughing. This was my favorite part of the day, the chaos before order. The moment when 30 different lives converged into one shared space, and I got to be the person who welcomed them in. "Good morning, Mrs. Anderson." "Morning, Tyler. Did you finish your reading?" "Most of it." I smiled. Most of it was better than none of it. The smell of chalk dust and old paper hung in the air, familiar, comforting. I'd been teaching 4th grade at Riverside Elementary for 11 years. 11 years of spelling tests and scraped knees and parent-teacher conferences. 11 years of learning names, faces, fears, dreams. You get good at reading children when you spend that much time with them. You learn to see past the surface. My classroom filled slowly. Coats hung on hooks. Chairs scraped against linoleum. Someone was humming. Someone else whispered about a birthday party this weekend. And then I saw her, Emma Sullivan. Quiet, careful Emma, who always sat in the second row by the window. She had dark hair that fell past her shoulders, and eyes that seemed older than 9 years should allow. Smart girl, thoughtful. The kind who finished assignments early and then sat reading while others caught up. But lately, something had shifted. She moved differently now, slowly, cautiously, like someone walking on ice. Her backpack looked heavier than it should. She didn't meet anyone's eyes as she made her way to her desk. "Morning, Emma," I said gently. She glanced up. "Morning, Mrs. Anderson." Her voice was barely a whisper. I watched her approach her desk, watched her hands grip the edge of the chair. She stood there for a long moment, just staring down at the seat. The morning announcements crackled through the intercom. Principal Morrison's voice filled the room, reminding everyone about Picture Day next week. The children settled. I took attendance. Emma's name was called. "Here," she said quietly, but she wasn't sitting. "Emma!" I looked at her. "Everything okay?" She shifted her weight from one foot to the other. Her fingers tightened on the desk edge until her knuckles went white. "Mrs. Anderson." Her voice was so soft I almost didn't hear it. "Can I stand today? It hurts too much to sit." The classroom noise seemed to fade into background static. 29 other children were pulling out their math workbooks, sharpening pencils, whispering about recess. But all I could see was Emma, standing there, her face pale, her eyes fixed on the floor. "It hurts?" I repeated. She nodded. My first thought was innocent. A fall during PE, a bike accident over the weekend. Kids got hurt all the time. Bruised knees, twisted ankles, the occasional broken arm from a playground mishap. "Did you fall? Hurt yourself somehow?" "No, ma'am." "Does your mom know you're not feeling well?" Something flickered across her face. Fear? Panic? It was there and gone so fast I almost missed it. "I'm fine," she said quickly. I'd rather stand, if that's okay." I should have said yes and moved on. Should have started the lesson. But something in my chest tightened, a teacher's instinct, maybe, or just basic human intuition. The way she held herself, the way she flinched when Tyler's chair scraped too close to hers. "Of course you can stand," I said carefully. "But Emma, if you're hurt, we should probably call." "I'm not hurt." Her voice came out too sharp, too defensive. Then softer. Please, I just need to stand. I nodded slowly. Okay, that's fine. She exhaled, and some of the tension left her shoulders. The morning crawled forward. We worked through multiplication tables. I walked between desks, checking homework, answering questions. But my attention kept drifting back to Emma, standing at her desk while everyone else sat. She completed every problem perfectly, her handwriting neat and precise. But her hand trembled slightly as she wrote. During reading time, I told the class to work independently and called Emma to the side. Walk with me, I said quietly. We stepped into the hallway. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A bulletin board nearby displayed student artwork bright paintings of houses and families and dogs. Emma stood with her arms wrapped around herself, looking very small. Honey, I said gently, I'm worried about you. If something's hurting, I need to know. That's my job to keep you safe. I'm okay. Are you? She didn't answer. Emma, did someone hurt you? Her breath hitched, just for a second. Just enough. No. At home? No. Too fast, too practiced. I crouched down to her eye level. My knees protested. 11 years of teaching had done a number on them, but I wanted her to see my face, wanted her to know I meant what I was about to say. If something is happening, if someone is hurting you, you can tell me. You're not in trouble. You won't be in trouble. But I need to know if you're safe. Her eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back furiously. Daddy says... She stopped. My heart was pounding now. What does Daddy say? He says I need to be good, that good girls don't complain, that if I tell anyone... She trailed off, looking terrified. The hallway suddenly felt too cold. Emma, has your father been hurting you? She didn't answer, didn't nod, didn't shake her head. But the silence was louder than any words could have been. My mouth went dry. My hands felt numb. I'd been teaching for 11 years. I'd taken the training. I knew the signs. Unexplained injuries, behavioral changes, fear of going home, inappropriate clothing for the weather. I knew the protocol. I knew what I was supposed to do. But knowing and doing are two different things. Because calling meant consequences. It meant police and social workers and investigations. It meant this little girl's life would be turned upside down. It meant her father would know someone had spoken up. What if I was wrong? What if this was all a misunderstanding, a sore back from sleeping wrong, a child's overactive imagination, a coincidence of symptoms that meant nothing? But what if I was right? What if my silence cost her everything? I thought of all the news stories, the children who fell through the cracks, the teachers who noticed something but didn't act, the phrase that haunted every educator. Why didn't anyone help her? Emma was looking at me with those two old eyes, waiting to see what I would do. I made my decision. Emma, I need you to wait with Mrs. Chen in the office for a few minutes, okay? You're not in trouble, I promise. I just need to make a phone call. Please don't. You're safe, I said firmly. I'm going to make sure you're safe. I walked her to the office, my hand resting lightly on her shoulder. She felt so fragile, like she might break if I held on too tight. Mrs. Chen, the school secretary, took one look at my face and understood without me saying a word. I've got her, she said softly. I stepped into the principal's office and closed the door. My hands were shaking as I picked up the phone. I'd never called 911 from school before, never had to. The training had seemed abstract, something you learned, but never actually used. The phone rang twice. 911. What's your emergency? My voice came out steadier than I felt. My name is Sarah Anderson. I'm a teacher at Riverside Elementary School. I have a student who I believe is being abused at home. She's 9 years old. She's showing signs of physical injury and has indicated that her father... The words stuck in my throat. Saying them out loud made them real. That her father has been hurting her. The dispatcher's voice was calm, professional. Can you stay with the child? Yes. She's in the office with our secretary. Officers are on their way. They'll be there in approximately 7 minutes. Can you keep her safe until then? Yes. You did the right thing calling, the dispatcher said. I hung up and stared at the phone. My heart was hammering. My mouth tasted like copper. 7 minutes felt like an eternity. Principal Morrison appeared in the doorway. Sarah, what's going on? I told him everything, the standing, the fear, the implication. His face went pale. Jesus, he breathed. Okay. We need to keep her away from the other students. If the father shows up, he might? If someone calls him, if Emma's not in class. Morrison ran a hand through his thinning hair. We need to be prepared. The next few minutes passed in a blur. A police cruiser pulled into the parking lot, lights off. 2 officers entered through the main office, a man and a woman, both young, both wearing expressions of practiced calm. Mrs. Anderson? Yes? I'm Officer Martinez. This is Officer Chen. Can you tell us exactly what happened? I walked them through it again, my voice mechanical now, detached. As I spoke, a social worker arrived, a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and a worn briefcase. I'm Linda Morrison from Child Protective Services, she said. Where's the child? Mrs. Chen led them to the small conference room where Emma waited. Through the window, I could see Emma's face confused, frightened, so small in that big chair. I wanted to go to her, to tell her it would be okay. But Officer Martinez was asking more questions, and Principal Morrison was pulling Emma's file, and everything was moving too fast and too slow all at once. And then we heard it, shouting from the parking lot. Where is she? Where's my daughter? My blood turned to ice. Through the office window, I saw him, a tall man in a work shirt, striding toward the entrance, with fury radiating from every step. His face was red. His fists were clenched. That's Emma's father, I whispered. Officer Martinez moved immediately. Stay here. He met Emma's father at the door. The man tried to push past him. Sir, I need you to stop right there. I want my daughter. Someone called saying she's hurt. What the hell is going on? Sir, please calm down. Calm down? You're in my kid's school and you're telling me to calm down? His voice echoed through the hallway. I heard classroom doors opening, teachers peeking out. Principal Morrison was on the phone, probably calling for backup. Emma's father was yelling now, his words tumbling over each other in rage. Someone put lies in her head. My daughter is fine. This is harassment. Officer Chen appeared beside her partner. 2 officers now, blocking the doorway. Mr. Sullivan, we need you to step back. We're conducting an investigation based on concerns reported by school staff. Investigation? What investigation? Emma's fine. She's a good girl. She wouldn't... He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes found mine through the office window. The look he gave me was pure hatred. You, he said, his voice dropping to something low and dangerous. You did this. Officer Martinez stepped between us. Mr. Sullivan, you need to leave the premises. Now. That's my daughter in there. And she's being evaluated by Child Protective Services. If you don't leave voluntarily, we will arrest you for trespassing. For a moment, I thought he would rush them. His entire body was coiled like a spring, ready to explode. But then something shifted calculation, replacing rage. He took a step back. This isn't over, he said quietly. You have no idea what you've done. Then he turned and walked away. I realized I'd been holding my breath. My legs felt weak. Someone, Mrs. Chen, maybe, guided me to a chair. You're okay? She murmured. It's okay. But I didn't feel okay. I felt like I'd just stepped off a cliff and was still falling. In the conference room, Linda Morrison was talking softly to Emma. The little girl was crying now, not the loud, dramatic crying of a child throwing a tantrum, but the quiet, broken sobs of someone who'd been holding it together for far too long. Officer Chen joined them. After what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes, Linda Morrison emerged. We're taking her into protective custody, she said quietly. There's enough evidence to warrant immediate removal. She'll be placed with a foster family while we investigate. Will she be okay? Linda's smile was sad. Eventually, I hope. Thanks to you, she has a chance. They led Emma out through a side exit to avoid any remaining students in the hallways. She looked back once, her eyes finding mine. I tried to smile, tried to show her she'd done nothing wrong, that I didn't regret this. She disappeared through the door. The office felt suddenly empty. Principal Morrison was dealing with concerned teachers. Officers were taking statements. The normal school day had shattered into 1,000 pieces. I walked back to my classroom on autopilot. My students were with the art teacher. Now Morrison had arranged coverage when everything started. The room was empty, silent. Emma's desk stood by the window, her pencil case still sitting on top. Her math workbook opened to page 43. I sat down at my desk and stared at my hands. They were still shaking. The next few days were a nightmare of meetings and phone calls and paperwork. Emma's father hired a lawyer. The school district hired theirs. I gave statements to police, to social workers, to the district superintendent. Some people called me a hero. Others, including 2 sets of parents from my class, said I'd overreacted, that I'd destroyed a family over a child's complaint about sitting down. You don't know what really happened in that house, one mother told me coldly. You could have ruined an innocent man's life. Maybe I could have. Maybe I did. But late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I thought about Emma's face, the fear in her eyes, the way she'd said, "Daddy says I need to be good." And I knew, in my bones, that I'd done the right thing. 3 weeks later, Linda Morrison called me. "I thought you'd want to know," she said. The investigation confirmed abuse. Emma's testimony, along with medical evidence, was enough. She's been placed with her grandmother in another state. She's safe. I closed my eyes. Thank you for telling me. No, Linda said quietly. Thank you for calling. Most people don't. They suspect, they worry, but they don't act. You saved that little girl's life. After I hung up, I sat in my classroom, the same classroom where this had all started. Late afternoon sun streamed through the windows. Outside, I could hear children on the playground, their voices bright with joy. I thought about all the things I taught my students, reading and writing, math and science, how to be kind, how to raise their hands, how to stand in line. But that day, Emma taught me something more important. She taught me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak up when someone can't speak for themselves. That silence, even when it feels safer, can be the most dangerous choice of all. That some lessons can't be learned from textbooks. They have to be lived. I pulled out a fresh piece of paper and began to write. Dear Emma, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I need you to know something. You are brave, you are strong, and none of this was your fault. You asked to stand because sitting hurt, and by asking, you gave me permission to see what was really happening. You let me help you. I hope wherever you are, you're safe now. I hope you're learning to be a kid again. I hope you know that what happened wasn't because you weren't good enough. It was because someone else forgot how to be good. You're going to be okay, Emma. I believe that with my whole heart. Your teacher, Mrs. Anderson. I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer. That night, I drove home through familiar streets, stopped at red lights, waved to neighbors, made dinner, did dishes, all the ordinary things that made up an ordinary life. But I wasn't the same person I'd been 3 weeks ago. I'd learned that teaching wasn't just about lessons and grades and parent-teacher conferences. It was about showing up for children when no one else would. It was about being brave enough to do the hard thing, even when you weren't sure, especially when you weren't sure. Some people would say I ruined a family that day, but I saved a child, and I would make that same call 1,000 times over, every single time. Author's note: if you suspect a child is being abused, please call your local Child Protective Services or the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-422-4700. 4453. You don't need proof. You don't need to be certain. You just need to care enough to make the call. Teachers, social workers, and mandated reporters. Trust your instincts. You might be the only person who notices. You might be the only person brave enough to act. You might be the only person who can save them.